Yes, people, welcome back to another Offside Trap video. This one's a bit of a spicy one because we've had our conversation backstage already. P, I already know I'm going to hate you. Doc, I don't even know with you yet, but you've got a smirk on that makes me know that there's trouble. I've already introduced you to. I'm not going to ask how you're feeling because do you know what? You've upset me already with this the new Champions League format, right? That is a discussion today. I'm going to start off by saying, no, I don't want it. I want the group stage. I want to get the qualification, and then I want to get straight into the knockout stage. I don't want extra games played. I don't want this 9 to 24 league format crap that has come out. I'm out. I don't want it.
But before we go into our reasons for it, I just want to say, I don't know what your problem is, Bill. You're a Chelsea fan and you won't be having Champions League football anytime soon. So I really don't know what your issue is, mate. I really don't.
Doc, to
be fair, it's not even just Champions League, is it? It's it's even the Europa League and the Europa Conference League. And let's be honest, Chelsea ain't going to be there anytime soon.
I think when you're talking Chelsea, the only debate you should be having is, when are you going to the job centre next for your next manager? Like, that's just my perspective. But
right,
going back to topic on what you want to discuss. Shoot, man, fire away.
I'm not having it. I'm not.
What's the matter with it? Tell me why you think it won't work.
Why I think it won't work is necessarily the new format of it consisting of there's pots, but there's not a group stage. It's a league. Which, what's the point in having a pot? Why not just play the teams in the league? That's the whole point in a league. But they're not doing that. They've just got a league table, which is pointless. Second of all, you've got more pots to get into between the, I think it was 9th and 24th place. So there's more pots and more digging around with scripted hands that are going to pick out certain teams to face certain teams. We're still going to be seeing the same teams in the semi-final and the final and the latter stages of the tournament. Nothing's changing.
Not necessarily, Bill. They might go out in the group stage.
The two aspects that I do like about it for different reasons to what Champions League fans are going to be happy with it is, one, thank the Lord that for once we're not rewarding failure with regards to teams that don't do very well in the Champions League that find themselves entering the next biggest competition available. So that is one good aspect. And I'm very, very happy that has happened. The other aspect that I am happy with is it really does make me laugh, because all you big club supporters that want Champions League football, you've now got 6 more games to play minimum to get to the quarterfinal stage. So next year, you think your teams are like a little bit shabby in the league at the moment with injuries or anything? You ain't seen nothing yet. You haven't seen nothing yet. So it really does help. All the teams in our league that aren't in the Champions League are going to be seeing weakened teams, because you're going to have to prioritize these games to keep your players fit. And it suits me down to the ground, because now I think that, the competitiveness side of the league is going to make it even more competitive. So thank you very much for the decision. I really appreciate it. And enjoy your Champions League football, gentlemen. My football club don't have to worry about Champions League, but I'm quite happy with the fact that all you big mentality clubs have got 6 more games to play. Brilliant.
Well, Chelsea ain't got 6 more games to play, have they?
Well,
let's be honest.
I said big clubs. Did you not hear me? Big clubs.
All joking aside, look, Bill, 4 pots decides who you're playing. Yeah? Over 8 games, right? Yeah. The champions have to play the champions. There's no seeded or unseeded. You have to play the champions. The big clubs have to play the big clubs. Yeah, we're not now seeing Man City v Sturm Graz. No one cares about that. No one cares.
We're not seeing
Man City play Real Madrid, Man City playing Barcelona, maybe Man City playing big clubs. Do you know what I mean? This week you've got Man City, Copenhagen. Who cares?
Do you not think though?
It's the round of 16. No one cares who Man City got, because Copenhagen are irrelevant. You want to see the big clubs playing the big clubs in the biggest tournament.
But you say you want to see the big clubs playing the big clubs. Do you not think that's a little bit hypocritical with regards to the fact that we're calling it the Champions League, but now we've got even more teams entering it that aren't champions. So to me, they should have changed the name because it's not the Champions League, because half of the teams in it aren't even champions. So that's a bit silly. And I also think that, I just think it's just, I don't see how it helps the English game, but I see why that they've done the format. So I understand why the Champions League have done it. But like I said, I think it actually makes our league worse. I think more English international players are playing more games now. I think it's going to have a bigger effect on the England squad with regards to availability and everything else. So I do understand the concept of it. But for me personally, I think that it's gone too far.
Let's be fair, Doc. Out of the teams in the Champions League, how many English players are in there?
Well, a few.
How many?
A few.
If we're looking at England's first 11, you've got Pickford, no. You've got Walker, yes. You've got centre-back Stones, yes. Tomori, well, no, Tomori won't be in it. Maguire, no, they got knocked out of the group stage.
This is next season. They're not going to qualify for the Champions League.
No, they won't qualify anyway. Luke Shaw, no. You got Rice, yes. You got.
But don't forget, this isn't just the Champions League format. This is all competitions. Even that Bob Cup that West Ham won that he claims.
Oh yeah. That's a major trophy. I'll have you know.
Yeah, well, even that major trophy, there's not actually a major trophy at all, and it's not even actually like Europe, even though they claim to be.
Why is there so much jealousy around West Ham being the best club in London last season? Seriously,
best team in London. Lowest finishing team in the league. How ironic. Right. Anyway, swiftly moving on. Like I said, it is all free. It is all free competitions that is now being played on a bigger format. So any one of our English players that's playing in European football is now playing more games.
Oh, did those.
Do you know what my biggest concern is? Do you remember when the Super League was mentioned?
Yeah. That's to eradicate. This format is to eradicate that.
No, it won't eradicate that. This format will make the Super League turn into that. Doc's saying about the names changing. It will change. It won't be UEFA Champions League. It'll be UEFA Super League. And
the only super you get to is when you. The only super you get to is when you win the Champions League or the UEFA Cup or the Europa League, and you end up in the Super Cup in a one-off game.
I think you're both agreeing with each other. I do think that they will change the name of this competition eventually, and I do think that the reason why they've done this format is to eradicate people leaving this one for that one. So I think you're both agreeing with the same point.
Of course.
But okay, hypothetical situation, what if it does arise that UEFA have come to an agreement with the people who want to make the Super League, and then the teams in that UEFA Champions League stay in that league and use it as a promotion from their leagues? Because what I'm thinking is, what my main concern is, and I'm not saying this from a Chelsea fan who doesn't have European football for the next decade, right? I'm talking just as a neutral football fan here. I don't want to see the biggest teams in England or the biggest teams in Spain or Italy or France or Germany just piss off to one big league. And
I don't think you will. I think we've had this conversation already with regards to the fact that the club signed up to it, the fans turned on the owners done a U-turn, and regardless of when those owners make those decisions, those fans are still going to speak. And when the fans talk like that, the owners listen. So I don't think we have to worry about that. I don't think that these clubs are that naive to give up on potentially the Premier League and the Champions League.
UEFA were never for this Super League anyway. They were always against it. So why are they going to sell the rights to these new people? What you want to be more worried of is, I don't know, I use golf as an example. You've now got the Live Tour, which is now backed by Saudis, and the PGA Tour has now been sort of demoralised because of that. That's more likely to happen in football.
And don't forget
Saudi thing in, and then they'll go. That's more realistic.
Don't forget the Super League was predominantly about money, about generating the most amount of money. Well, this competition now will generate more money because of the more games and the more TV rights that can be sold. So this competition is going to do the same thing that the Super League was trying to do. So I understand why the Super League. I understand why the Super League was trying to do it, but the Champions League have now counteracted that by improving their one to eradicate that.
And let's be fair, in the Super League, there was no relegation.
Yeah.
So in the Champions League, if you don't qualify in the league, in your domestic league, you're not getting the Champions League the season after.
Yeah.
So what's the point? They're not going to just say, "Oh, this is now the new Super League." It ain't going to happen. Sorry to say, it's not.
I just look the way I'm seeing it is that everyone was so against the Super League, but I feel like the Champions League is doing what the Super League was going to do.
That's probably using the same. They're probably using the same format, but it's to eradicate the Super League from coming in and taking the big giants. Now you look at the people that wanted the Super League. You're talking Barcelona, Juve, Real Madrid. They're all skin. They're skin. That's why they want the money.
But it wasn't even that, was it? It was exactly what you just said, Bill. You're right. They're using the same format. But the biggest gripe for that Super League was once these teams were entered that Super League, they could never, ever be removed from the Super League. They couldn't be relegated or anything. So that was the biggest gripe in it was, you know, at the end of the day, if we had a Leicester do what Leicester done and do the unthinkable and win the league, they still wouldn't go into that competition. And that is what, for me, made, you know, at least with the Champions League, if you win our league and become champions as an underdog, you enter the Champions League. You are a champion.
I think what's happened is he's now realised that Chelsea are probably knackered for the next 5 years.
No, it's not about Chelsea.
He now wants European football, so now he's an advocate for the Super League. That's the only thing I can think of.
It's not about Chelsea.
Listen, Bill, I honestly think you've got to be realistic, right? You, in an ideal world, Chelsea want European football. Right?
Chelsea.
No. Hear me out. If you want European football, right?
Yeah.
Give up your Asian tour pre-season and have a European one, and you'll be all right.
Go play in the
around Europe.
What's it called?
You'll have a nice day out.
What's it called? The Amsterdam Trophy, or whatever it is.
Yeah. You enjoy that one, and you will have your little European day out, and everyone will be happy. But I think realistically speaking, that's the only bit of European football you're seeing anytime soon, mate.
Guys, this is exactly the point. Look, they're both laughing. They both are aiming for Chelsea about not being in Europe. It's not about that. I've said this already. I'm not talking from a Chelsea fan. I've just said we ain't getting Europe for a decade under this American owner. That's that, right? I'm talking from a football fan. With the UEFA Champions League doing that new format, what is stopping them in 3 years' time looking at it going, oh, we're actually getting some decent money. Do you know what we can do? We can shut that right off and let's just make that league itself. Let's not talk about the promotion and stuff like that. Let's just make that.
Clubs will pull out of it, Bill.
Yeah.
Fans,
and you're missing the concept.
Are a massive thing within English football.
And you're missing the concept. The Super League that you're talking about is not the Champions League. It's a completely different group of people doing something different. So the Champions League, all the while they are in control and all the while they've got the big clubs signed up to it, even if they adapt their competition, the clubs will still back the decision, which is what you're seeing now. But I don't think the big clubs will ever go into this Super League.
Okay. What I was going to say is fans, no fans, no income. It's a bit like Only Fools and Horses, yeah? No fans, no income.
Well, Chelsea will know about that because half of their fans leave at half time.
It's not about Chelsea, Doc.
When they start losing, their fans go on, don't they? So it's the same principle.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, without the fans buying match tickets, without the fans buying merchandise or even sweets and burgers and whatever else they sell in this day and age, without them, mate, you've got no club. So that's why the clubs will never agree to going into this stupid league.
But Chelsea will always have the income of the manager out banners. So they will always be able to sell the "we want the manager out" banners. So they will always generate an income on that alone. So there's nothing to worry about, Bill.
I'm not concerned about Chelsea. I know
we're
dog shite. I know that we ain't winning much, and that's fine, right? I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about the league potentially turning into a Super League, which is what we all fought against in the first place.
But do you know something, though? Do you know something? Like I touched on earlier, from a Chelsea point of view and from a Palace point of view. No, from a Chelsea point of view and a Palace point of view, and I can't say from a West Ham point of view because unfortunately they were in a competition last year and it looks like they're going to be in the competition this year. But from our point of view, this is playing into our hands. These clubs have now got to play more football than they've ever played before. It's not like they're being given any leeway with regards to having a bigger squad capable of this. So like when you played Liverpool in the Worthless Cup the other day and played the under-15s, next year if you get to the final, you'll probably play their under-13s. So you'll be all right. So it's a plus for us.
I think also what you got to think of, what else it gets rid of is you look at Newcastle this year. They were drawn to Paris, Dortmund, and AC Milan. Yeah,
it's cutthroat group.
Well, so now they won't be drawn against them clubs because they've got to play 5 extra games.
Yeah.
So ultimately, Newcastle now have a better chance of qualifying out of that group.
Yeah, and look at Man United. They played 4 games, conceded 20 odd goals, and finished bottom of the group, right? Out of all competitions, and went back into the league. Next year, or this year coming, whichever way you look at it, they're going to play 8 games, concede 40 odd goals, and they're going to get knocked out with no European football. But they're going to be a lot weaker because their players would have played, a few more games. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it for different reasons.
What do you think? Do you really think that squad sizes aren't going to change with new formats and more games being played? Do you
100%.
think the Premier League is still going to go? Nah, you stick to your 20. What is it? 25, 32.
100%.
Yeah, but your 25-man squad in the Premier League hasn't necessarily got to be them players that you register in the Champions League.
But my point being, right, is what if they up the squads or up the squad sizes?
Yeah, but they can't up the league. They can't up the league to
think what you see here, what you're going to see here, is actual youth academy football players being brought through the system and given game time. Now, whether that's in the Champions League or in the Premier League, that's to wait and see. But ultimately, now you're going to have to see these players being brought through. Why? Because you don't have to register your academy players. Because 1, there's an age limit on it, and 2, 9 times out of 10, if they're academy players, they're probably from the country, so you don't have to register them sort of them players.
But like I just said,
so I think it bodes well.
That suits me because now hypothetically, if Crystal Palace are away to Liverpool at Anfield next season, there's a very strong chance in that game we're going to be playing a weakened Liverpool team in the league because
you play their under-10s and still get beat.
Yeah, we'll see about that, mate. We will see about that. But like I said, I would, from a Palace fan's point of view, I'd much rather go to Anfield and fancy our chances against a weakened team than their full team. And this format, and even if what you're saying, Bill, and the answer to your question is, there's no way, and I'm quietly confident, and if they do this, I'm going to lose respect for the league altogether. There's no way they're going to increase the squads in the league for the Champions League. They may the Champions League format, they may say, Champions League, you can now register 35 players. But out of the 35 players in the Champions League, you're still going to play a Trent Alexander in the Champions League. And if he gets injured because of the extra games he's played, he can't play in the league. And they're not going to be able to replace Trent in the league. They've now got a 24-man squad. And that's my point.
I was going to use Reece James then as an example, but he won't be playing in the Champions League, really.
Yeah, I mean, there was 2 formats there. You was going to use him in the Champions League, and you was also going to talk about injuries. Like, you should, if you want to talk about Reece James, you should talk about a game that he might actually be fit for, which is very, very minimal. So
he won't. There's no point talking about James because he doesn't play football. Exactly. That guy's just earning $250,000 a week, sitting there in his recliner chair watching Chelsea get smashed every week.
Funny you should say that, Bill. I did read an article earlier that apparently Reece James has taken up chess as part of his recovery, but he's actually done his shoulder in and he's out for an extra month. He's got injured playing chess.
Doc, I mean this, right? I mean this.
No,
Focus on the subject. We are talking about the Champions League format and our concerns, not everything. Why are you highlighting a club and speaking about a club that's not even European? Scrap Champions League. Scrap Europe. You're in European competitions. You don't mind this, right? Chelsea aren't even in the conference. We are out. Okay. League.
Yeah, you're like Michael McIntyre, aren't you?
Even okay. Let's get back on topic. Let's talk about West Ham. Last year, they went all the way to the final and won it. And their league position, some would argue, suffered because of the run in the competition. Yeah, would you agree with that, P?
Yeah.
Well, imagine what's going to happen next year if they want to get to the final, the same competition next
year.
We'll
have a bigger team next year.
In what regards?
Because we'd be unlikely to sell our best players because we've now attracted European football again. And we would add to that squad.
Yeah, but the numbers are the same. If you pick up injuries with the extra games you're playing, they're out.
That's fine. I'll take that.
Yeah, so will I. Because when we play you at our ground or your ground, you're going to be focused on your extra games. And you're going to
still think our under-15s will beat you.
Oh, mate, you couldn't even beat us with your full team this year. So I would rein it in if I was you.
Right. Back.
No, but all joking aside, like you take West Ham as an example, I generally think that we'd have a big enough squad to still compete for the top 6 or top 8, whatever it is.
How though? How can you come at me with that?
Because we would use our youth system. Everyone will have to do that.
Where would you use them?
Well, in the positions they play.
No shit, Sherlock. Where would you use the youth? Like, would you use
the Premier League?
Exactly.
Or if you've got a game in Europe that's a bit easier than the others, you'd play them in the European game. We did it last year in the Conference League.
And you finished. Where did you finish in the league?
Yeah, 15th. But what I'm saying is, in the Conference League, we played some of our fringe players.
But what I'm trying to say is, you finished 15th last year with your squad. Next year, you're talking about yeah, but I don't care about your little tin pot trophy that you won. I want to focus on
tin pot because Palace ain't in it.
Yeah, but whether we're in it, whether we're not in it, is not in or there. From a Palace's point of view, from a neutral fan's point of view,
in August, the Carabao Cup is we can win it. Yeah,
but hear me out.
Get knocked out in the 3rd round, and now all of a sudden it's a tin pot trophy.
Yeah, but hear me out. From a Palace's point of view, I'm looking at that league and I'm thinking to myself, what have Palace got to do to break the top 10? Yeah, because we've never broke the top 10 before. And for me personally, if Palace finish 9th in the league next year, that is an amazing year for us, right? So I'm looking at this format and I'm thinking to myself, happy days. These teams around me next year are going to be weakened when we're strengthening and when we've got our.
We're talking about the top 6 being weakened, not the top 10.
No, it's not the top 6.
Of course it is.
It's not, because if you're in 7th, you're in
top 7 then.
Yeah.
So you only talk about 7 clubs.
Yeah, which means Palace can potentially
you're talking about finishing 9th.
Yeah.
So that's great aspirations for your football club, and hopefully you finish 9th next year.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. We'll win. We'll get more points next year because we'll take more points off the so-called big hitters.
Stop.
I
guarantee, right? How many teams in the Champions League? Right, let's work it out, yeah?
It's top 5, isn't it?
3 times, no, 6 times, no, sorry. So you play each other twice. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 14 games.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How many points is that? Over 14 games, that's 6 points per 2.
Yeah.
So work that out.
Yeah.
I guarantee you don't take half of them.
Yeah, but you're missing the concept of what I'm trying to say.
Missing nothing, mate. You just said you're going to take points off of the big boys, so-called big boys that are playing European football.
No, I didn't say that. I said that we'd have a better opportunity of taking points off the big hitters with a weakened team. So if we went to the Etihad this year, which we did, and drew because they had 2 injuries.
All right, Bill, let's get back on subject.
Imagine what we could have done going to the Etihad if they played their youth.
You had it right the first time, empty head.
Well, whatever way you look at it.
with the new Champions League format and the Europa League and the Conference League, the new UEFA format, right? Are we going to be seeing then weaker? Do you actually believe, Doc, that the teams are going to be weaker?
I don't. You say I believe like it's a ludicrous comment. I don't.
No, I'm just asking.
Yeah, and I'm trying to answer. I don't see how, when we're seeing what we're seeing this year, with the big hitters like Liverpool that are down to their bare bones already due to injuries, and you're now talking about Liverpool playing 6 more games. I'm struggling to understand why we don't see that Liverpool hypothetically will be down to their bare bones.
But we're going off for Liverpool that are finishing off in the playoffs. They'll probably go up in the 1-8, no? So
yeah, but even the 1-8, you're even 1-8. That was 4 games this year, and next year it's 8 games. That's 4 more games.
I generally think it'll be all right. I think they'll play. All it does is jeopardise our cup competitions, which the big clubs jeopardise it anyway. So for me, I generally think that Palace could win an FA Cup or a League Cup next year, all joking aside, and so could Chelsea.
That's what I'm saying.
Because
that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Weakened. But Premier League, I can't see Premier League then putting out weakened teams. I really can't.
No, it's not about putting out weaker teams. It's about playing 4 more games with 4 more opportunities of picking up injuries to your key players, and your key players getting burnt out by the amount of games that they're playing, so that when the league comes, they are going to be more tired, they're going to be more fatigued, they're going to pick up injuries, or they're going to not play in the cup competitions to counteract that, which gives the other clubs an opportunity. So whatever way you look at it, what I'm saying is correct. They're going to have to sacrifice certain games, which is going to give other teams an opportunity. The big hitters are not going to be able to go gun-ho for 4 competitions with their full team in this format. There's going to be too many games.
On the other hand, we know that the likes of City and Liverpool have a better weekend team than our first team.
Yeah, but that's a given.
So it doesn't. Do you know what I mean? Necessarily,
it might not necessarily.
They're not going to win a cup competition.
Yeah, obviously. But the point is, if we play their weakened team, we've got more of a chance to winning the game than if we play against their strong team.
But the way I look at it is, the game starts off at 0-0. So you've got all the chance to win the game anyway, whether they're playing the first team or not.
Yes, I'll tell you what, you're doing very, very well with pointing out the obvious tonight.
But what I'm saying is you're talking about playing weakened teams.
No, I'm not talking about playing weakened teams. I'm talking about the facts of what we know and knowing that they've got to play more games. And this year, there's teams that are moaning about the injuries that they're getting because of the amount of games that they're playing. And these teams have got to play more games next year. So next year, these teams are going to have to play, probably, if they do well in the Cups and they do well in that competition, like, for instance, Liverpool have done this year, getting to the final Europe. If Liverpool played Palace last game of the season, their squad would have played probably 14 more games than us over the year. That's a good thing for Palace.
Yeah, but it's a given fact that teams in Europe play something like 60 games, 70 games a year.
Yeah, and now you're giving them even more games. That's what I'm saying to you.
Yeah, but I think they'll increase the winter break.
Well, I can't see how.
I think you're looking at increasing friendly time or international friendly weeks, maybe, or
decreasing because they're a joke and they should never be allowed in a football season.
Agreed. That could be a separate video in itself, but that's what I mean. There may be lengths of time, but then also what doesn't help is the change of the extra time rule now, where every time the ball goes out or whatever, it just pauses the time, and then that time at the end of it. Like, I don't know if you've noticed this season, 8 minutes and 9 minutes are the average added on time, something ludicrous like that.
Yeah,
the other point.
Playing, you ain't got to play them extra minutes, have you? It's as simple as that. When you watch a decent side, like me boys, yeah, it's not often the ball goes out. So we only have like 5 minutes added on. It's if someone goes down with a bit of cramp, then
You see, like this year, with the African Cup, you see where teams were looking at where their players weren't available and going, well, that's all right because we've only got this game and this game, and we can afford to be without this player for these games, and I think we can weather the storms. With the new concept, I'll be very, very surprised if when these players go away, that they're going to be not having more key games in their absence, whether it's the Champions League or whether the league format has changed so that more league games are played in that time. But the knock-on effect is more football games.
You saying that, Doc, the African Cup of Nations, it didn't affect the Champions League, did it? Because Champions League was on a break.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say to you. You're not going to be able to have a break in the Champions League if you're putting in more games.
Yeah, they still have the break. I know that for a Football Manager. They still have the break, mate.
What do you mean?
Heard it here, folks. Big P gets his knowledge from Football Manager.
P, you just said they still have a break because you got it from Champions League Manager. Well, the new Champions League Manager's not out to incorporate.
No, it is. It is. I'm in that season already. It's already on there. I know exactly. I got West Ham to the final of it the other week. I know the format. That's why I'm
He's a joke, man. Don't he talk some waffle, this kid?
No, I'm being deadly serious. Bill will tell you he plays the game too. The new format's on there.
So the new format that was only finalised today is on your game that you've already got.
But obviously, it is in there. I'll show you in a minute. Let me show you. I'll show you. It is on there. I promise you. Anyone watching, please write in the comments that Football Manager has the new format of Champions League.
Absolutely. Honestly.
No, it does. It does.
Just when you think that someone couldn't come out with a more audacious comment.
Doc, I swear to you that the new format of the Champions League is on the new Football Manager. This season's one. I promise. I would ask Bill, but he don't qualify for it because he's playing with Chelsea.
Honestly,
right.
I'm speechless, Bill. I'm speechless. For the first time in a long time, I'm speechless.
Oh, that's great.
Good.
That's touchy. Shut up for 5 minutes.
Right. That's less Chelsea slander to worry about. Guys, let us know in the comments what you think. Do you think the new Champions League format is good? Do you think it's bad? I think it's bad. Peter Doc think it's good. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn notification bell on so you are aware when we post. We're live every Saturday at 9 p.m. and we post during the week. So make sure the notification bell is on so you are aware. And on that note, peace, and we will see you in the next video. Have a good one.
Other management games are available.